One of the biggest choices when you launch or start your own clothing line is how to handle order fulfillment. There's basically two choices out there. One of those is it's hands-off and somebody fulfills the order completely for you, or the other option is you bring in the inventory or print on demand and ultimately ship and fill the orders yourself. Now this is an extremely important choice, and there's pros and cons to each that I'd like to go through. In my mind, a couple of the biggest things when you're starting out a clothing line is ultimately you want to keep your financial assets liquid and ultimately stay cash flow positive to encourage the growth of the brand and give you the best chance of success. So the hands-off fulfillment, giving that method is extremely tempting in that you can use an online marketplace and there's no overhead. You don't have to have any printing knowledge, there's no inventory risk, and ultimately it's complete order fulfillment. Now, this could sound too good to be true, and a lot of clothing brands have found that it is, because there are some negatives that would make you want to control it. Ultimately, when you sell through a complete fulfillment provider, you lose a couple things. Number one is you lose the ability to impact quality. You don't have the ability to private label often, especially if you're using a marketplace where they realize the sales for you as well. And then ultimately, the customer relationship is handled by that marketplace. You don't get that sort of advantage of having the customer relationship and the repeat orders and the marketing ability for someone to really engage and grow with your brand. For that reason, I'm not a big fan or proponent of the complete hands-off method. Having said that, if you were to fulfill, there's a lot of financial challenges that tend to come up. Ultimately, you can get somebody to print for you, or you can print them yourselves. That's the option with fulfilling. If you get somebody to print for you, you can really get into a position where there's a lot of cash that's out the door, so you're not staying liquid. I've invested my assets into these 5 designs across these apparel styles in these sizes, and you can get a pretty big spend up on the front end, and ultimately if a design doesn't sell or you run out of a certain size, you have very little ability to change and move from that. Now on the pro side, you definitely get the advantage of you're actually controlling the process, taking the order, shipping the order, managing the customer, and quality very much is inspected by you before it hits the final customer. So without further ado, I'll give you my preferred method. It's that you fulfill, but you fulfill in a different way with what's called heat printing or screen printed transfers. Basically, it's a way to say you can print in-house without the expense of high-end equipment, just with a very simple heat press. So basically for about $1,200 or less, you're getting a quality heat press and you can print on demand. Now I'd like to show you an example of how this works by running through a chart for a clothing line. Very simple process with 5 designs. As you're taking a look at this sample on the screen, we see an inventory sample for a brand. As you can see, there's 5 different design types that have been created here across a few different colors of garments. If you look at getting this printed by a contract screen printer, take into account you're going to have to print and stock these sizes. So I did a very conservative stock estimate for each design and each colorway. We're looking at 5 designs in 3 colorways each for a total of 15 combinations or decorated pieces. As you can see, we're guessing on the sizes, and we're getting somewhere about 13 pieces with each particular style of the 15 colorways. And so when you start to add up those totals on the side, you get the inventory very quickly of 195 decorated pieces. Now I've taken the opportunity to model that out for you, because a lot of people will think that, you know, you can get great prices from a screen printer, but when you start sort of compounding the designs and the colors and everything you want to do, here's what you end up with. Even at an aggressive cost to print the shirt at $7.50 for the white shirts and $9 for the colored shirts, in this case we're doing the red and gray, you start to get an inventory position of about $1,700. You add in the screen charges that are going to be for each of those designs, and quickly I'm into $1,800 of inventory. And so you may be able to afford that, but what happens when a design doesn't sell? Or what happens when it's popular but you sell out of the larges right away? You're going to quickly end up with an out of stock position on the popular sizes, and you're going to go back to the drawing board trying to do fill-in orders and being held to certain minimums or trying to better predict in the future. And really there's just a lot of guesswork involved with this, and as a startup clothing line especially, this is going to leave your cash flow committed to inventory, which is a dangerous place. So the reason I like the screen printed transfer route is this. We look at that same combination, and what we can do on this particular sample is we can nest up those 5 designs across a single transfer sheet. Now, even if these were a transfer sheet each, this is going to still be a better example. It all depends on the size of the design and the colors, but you look at this order, the same order, we're looking at 40 gang sheets of transfers. The transfer cost on this job from a company like Transfer Express, who's the leading screen printed transfer manufacturer out there in the industry, is going to cost $4.39, and I can even design it on their EasyView designer. Basically a total transfer cost of $175.60. I'm estimating a t-shirt cost of $2.39. It gives me a total cost, when I do all the math, of $641. And the reality is I wouldn't even have to stock all of these shirts, because basically I'm going to do a certain stock in white shirts, gray shirts, red shirts, maybe can even add more colors for my money, because I'm not committing the decoration until I have the order. And that's the best part. You're keeping your financial assets free, and you're keeping flexibility and adaptability. So if a design doesn't sell, you're able to commit at the time of order. I'm able to take a stronger stock position on non-committed garments. So instead of having 3 mediums and 5 designs, I can stock just 15 mediums overall, and if a certain design sells better than another, I commit it at the time. This is just smart business when it comes to starting your clothing line. Now, this is perfect for online fulfillment. You can fill it on demand for the order, or it's good as well if you're fulfilling for a retail location that's reselling your line, because when I get that stock order or they need fill-ins, I can just print a few quantities, a few of each quantity, without being held to a minimum by a screen printer. So hopefully this gives you some basic concepts and why you may want to consider controlling your brand and really fulfilling the orders yourself, but doing it smartly, not over-investing in inventory and ultimately burying your finances into a few concepts. So you want to start your own clothing line? Well, good news, we want to help you. I'm Josh Ellsworth with Stahls TV, and I know heat printing is a viable choice for printing apparel in today's market, especially for startup or online brands. So we've created a complete series of videos right here to help you with everything that you need to consider. Feel free to ask questions in the comments field below, and good luck on starting your own t-shirt business.